Okay. All right. Yeah, we've got Rudy here. Happy Easter, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Rudy was on the sofa, then he jumped off and he wanted to come up on the desk. He won't be able to go on the desk. He's saying hello. Uh, yeah, nice to see all of you here. Endurorama's here. Fox Moongaze, Dutch Libertarian, Chris Gonman. If you're watching this recorded, you might want to move up about 10 minutes. That's when we really start. I'm just saying hello to everyone right now. Jillian B. Yeah, Rudy looking cute. He's cute, but naughty sometimes. He's been digging in the garden. I think he's trying to find some silver or gold, which he won't. Yeah, he's the hole digger. Andrew Bevan says. Grant Walker from Switzerland. Manic Miner. Rebecca Shinton from Dudley. Cozy Fantuzzi. The long march through the institutions was very effective. Dutch Libertarian says, Happy Easter, Mary and Rudy. Thank you. Happy Easter to everyone. Roy Brown from Mississippi. Peter says, smash the like button. Can hear it, can see me and hear me. Graham Hobbs is here. Yeah, I interviewed Lynette the other day. I like Lynette. My wife likes Lynette too. And Graham, Rudy's turned out to be okay. You said he was going to be a difficult dog because of the day he was born, his sign, but he's all right, actually. He was a bit of a T-Rex when he was a bit younger, but he's calmed down. It is still buy to let. Britain says it's cold in Spain. It's cold here too, still. Yesterday was a nice day, but not today. Chris Coleman, get Rudy a dirty man safe. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get a special one for him to put his bones in. Martin Luke from Basingstoke. Do you want to go sleep, Rudy? Let's put you down. Andrew Brown says, Happy Easter, Mary and Rudy, everyone. So, yeah, we still got a few minutes to start the topic. The topic that I chose, and like always, I choose a topic I think is important, is UK establishment looking to destroy the economy and impoverish you. Um, are they doing it on purpose? That's what we're going to look at. And does it matter what party is in power? That's what we're going to look at today. And it's, of course, got to do with the net zero situation, the sustainable economy and all that. And we can cover other topics as well. But I think it's important for me to talk about this and give you my opinion on it. Matt O'Sear, thank you for your super chat. Happy Easter. Highly value your thoughts and observations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Uh, uh, DJ Dora, you haven't been on the CO2 again, Marion? No, I haven't. I love CO2, yeah. The guy from Wide Awake Clothing sent me this. He also sent me a T-shirt that says that there's 0.04% of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it's 400 parts per million. And they're worried that it's going to destroy the planet, right? 0.04%. Anyway, we'll wait a little bit. Vanna Adiri is here. Hannah. Yeah, Rudy, he's just laid down on the floor here. Yeah, Jake Cathridge. Yeah, no, our government here in the UK is not working in isolation. This is like a worldwide program, and it's universal, but it emanates from, in my opinion, the city of London and also New York, the banking, the international banking establishment, and they've been planning this for centuries. Um, One world government, and that's what it's all about. Salad, do you recommend proof coin in limited edition? Proof coins and that's more numismatic, I would say. If you just want to invest in gold and silver as bullion, I wouldn't bother with proof coins unless you are into collecting and you want to get one and you have plenty of other coins, bullion coins. Yeah, it's not necessary. Gold, it doesn't matter what kind of gold you buy. Gold is gold, so you should try to buy the one that is the least costly. And the same thing for silver, I would say. I have one or two proof coins, but it's not what I look to buy when I buy gold and silver. Ken Newhouse from Warrensburg, Missouri says hi. Kroyoki thinks it's Papal Rome. Well, I'm not sure whether it's Papal Rome only. I, I think the bankers are very influential. Are they in bed with the black nobility, as they call them? Maybe. Um, yeah, there's a possibility of that. Target price for silver. I don't know, really. I don't know. I'll just I'm not concerned when fiat currencies are sinking. Do you really want to have a target price in fiat currencies? I think you need to look at silver and gold more as a way of maintaining purchasing power. Yeah, there are those who just look at gold and silver as a speculation and a trading instrument. That's not the way I look at it. But in the short term, we need to break through, I think, 26 to see silver really trade higher. I mean, I've got short-term targets. Of course, 50 is the very important one. And I think we could get there very quickly. But after that, it's anyone's guess. Mr. Siljidi, can we for sure say that the velocity of money is really signaling hyperinflation? Can it be that it is growing only because M2 is decreasing? Yeah, I mean, Lynette Zhang, I think, mentioned money velocity. I'm not really too worried or focused too much on money velocity. I think hyperinflation is more psychological. It's when people realize that governments and central banks will not stop inflating, that it's government policy to do so, and then people want to get rid of the currency. Um, and maybe velocity will go up, but I personally don't think it's an indicator that's necessary. So 9 o'clock here now. We've gone back to the normal difference between the UK and the US. So we're 5 hours ahead of Eastern time. Um, So the topic today is UK establishment looking to destroy the economy and impoverish you. And as I said earlier, I'm sure there are some politicians who have maybe the best interests of their constituents, but on a whole, I think yeah, they're very much in their bubble. They don't realize how difficult things are for the average person out there. And yes, and this topic that I'm going to talk about is to do with, of course, this climate and net zero agenda, this electrification, that we need to go off fossil fuels. And the reason I'm talking about this, I'm going to share this article that I saw, and it gave me the idea to talk about this. Um, so here we go. This is from yesterday. Claire Coutinho, it says, Labour's dangerous net zero plans leave UK at China's mercy. And I'm not focusing on China here. What I want to focus here is on the fact that uh, she's a conservative, right? Energy Secretary says opposition's unfeasible 2030 target would leave Britain over reliant on Chinese-made resources. And it's almost like they're trying to create this dichotomy that conservatives are better and that labor is no good, that they want to go at this target too quickly. The conservatives, they've got a 2035 target. And it's almost like we have a choice, right? If you vote for labor, this is going to happen. You vote for conservatives, this is going to happen. But this is an artificial plan, this net zero. And I'm going to try to convince you that it is. So why do I think this is, how can I say, yeah, this is not like by accident. Well, let's start with this. And probably many of you haven't heard of this. I hadn't heard of this until a couple of years ago, the Climate Change Act of 2008. And this was going on um, around the time of the great financial crisis. That's probably why you never heard of it. It was the time when Lehman was collapsing, the whole banking system was collapsing and had to be bailed out. And they came out with this Climate Change Act of 2008. And the worrying thing about this is this here. So on June 8th, following the second reading of the bill, only 5 members of the House of Commons voted against it. The 5 were Christopher Chope, Philip Davies, Peter Lilly, Andrew Tyree, and Ann Widdecombe. So there's around 660 MPs. I'm not sure the exact number, and only 5 voted against it. So you can bet when there's so much unanimity in passing a bill or an act of Parliament, you can bet that it's not going to be good for the public. And why do I think it went through? Well, because they're bought and paid for, in my opinion, by the people behind this move. And I'm going to come to that in a minute. The interesting guy here is Peter Lilly, who's now Lord Lilly. He's not an MP anymore. And I actually interviewed him. Here we go. This was in August of 2022. And that's what he said to me. He knew then that there was something wrong when there was so much unanimity in a vote. And at the time, most people now probably believe that the energy crisis, the high prices of energy that we had was because of the war in the Ukraine or a special military operation. But I was interviewing him in August of 2022 when he already had as you can see here, has, because he said government subsidies to losers has exacerbated energy crisis. I recommend you watch this if you want. Um, I'm gonna put a link to this in the comment section right now. And here we go. So if you have some questions, I'm going to stop for some questions. I've got some more stuff to share with you, more to do with who's really behind it. Well, it won't be a surprise that people that like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the bankers, who really want the best for us, right? Because, that's how they've gotten mega wealthy, because they've been really good to the general public, right? And now they want to save the planet. So let's look at some questions here from you guys now. Um, Vanna Edry says he remembers me interviewing Peter Lilly. Yeah, I tried to get him on a few months ago, but I haven't heard back from him. Not sure. Um, maybe they've cracked down quite a bit on this topic, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Silver Task, thank you for being here as a moderator. Sarge 27271 said, Mary, I watched Jeff buys cars. He's in the UK. He talks of the rules and regulations regarding cars. The UK is insane. Within 3 years, you won't be able to drive anywhere. Yeah, that's the other thing, with the ULEZ. Um, it affected a lot of people in Greater London and even just outside London. And it's all for something, in my opinion, that isn't really a problem. I'm trying to be like quite diplomatic here. Um, yeah, how can it be a problem that a gas that makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere is a problem? It's just, and that it creates, and that it makes the energy go, not energy, but the temperature go up. It's just doesn't make any sense. Over here says, is it possible we will see negative interest rates in the US and Great Britain? I already think we're seeing negative rates, real rates. Um, Whether we're going to see nominal negative rates, I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever see that in our lifetimes again. Maybe our children and grandchildren might see it again, but not us. Jeff, were you surprised that Clive played around with Bitcoin and knew so much about the space? No, I'm not surprised. Clive has a more uh, a fund manager, wealth manager aspect to the way he looks at things. So he diversifies. Um, I'm not surprised. On this channel, I try it more. I'm not really an investment advisor, of course. I'm more of a currency guy, a money guy, and I'm trying to warn people about the monetary system. Um, and I stick to gold and silver. I did look into cryptos in the beginning of this channel, but towards 2017, 2018, I saw things that I didn't like Goldman Sachs getting involved, buying exchanges. I saw the CBOT, CBOE creating futures contracts for crypto. And I just think there's too much, too much greed and too much scamming in the sector. Doesn't mean to say that Bitcoin is bad, but then I've heard also from people, and I can't talk too much about it because uh, of non-disclosure stuff. I've heard people that work for UK regulators and things like that, that Bitcoin was around before 2009, that it was created by the deep state. So I don't trust it. I know the price is enticing, the price move. And I remember when Bitcoin was trading below $100. But I decided to focus just on what I believe will survive the coming crisis, currency crisis, and that's gold and silver. But I've always said to people, if you want to buy Bitcoin, to my viewers, they've asked me in the past, yes, buy some, but don't bet the house on it because it's very volatile. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. In a recent video, you're summarized you summarized that gold could go 8 times from 1,050. Will silver do the same? If so, from what price level? Yeah, and I talked about that 8 times because that's what it did from 75 to 1980. It went up just over 8 times from 2001 and 2 when gold got down to like 250. It went up just below 8 times to 1920. What about silver? I think silver you'd have to work out what where the gold silver ratio could go. So in 2011, the gold silver ratio went down to 30 or 33, thereabouts. So I think there's a good chance we could go back there. So 30% of 8,000 is $250, I would say, and it could be much higher because silver's been so suppressed, I think that we could go below the 30 to 1 gold silver ratio. So there you go. Mara Kalenda says part of Baltimore to be closed for construction many months, if not years, after bridge collapse. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Um, and I'm not going to go over what I think happened there, but what I think could be the consequence of that. And I think it could be bigger than people are like talking about in terms of the supply chain, not just for the mid-Atlantic region in the US, but for the whole US supply chain. So and I know people are talking a lot about this solar eclipse coming up on April 18th. So things are getting interesting. Back to the topic of the this climate thing, and I'm trying to be careful with my words because I'm going to share something with you here. It's an interview I did with um, hold on. It's an interview I did with Dr. Willie Soon. And I think I don't know if any of you watched Tucker Carlson, and he did a really good interview with Tucker Carlson. And I decided to contact him, and he came on. And yeah, the title of this interview is "The Trampling of the Scientific Method and Climate Agenda Threatens Civilization." That's what Dr. Willie Soon, who was a Harvard astrophysicist for over 20 years, said. And for 4 or 5 years, I haven't had a video demonetized. And this interview, which was about 2 months ago, as you can see here, at first it wasn't demonetized, but then 1 or 2 days later it was demonetized. So that tells me that we hit like a nerve that they're concerned about what's going on, and that people are waking up to this situation. And I'm gonna give you a link to this video interview if you want to watch it as well. I'm gonna put it right here. And one of the things he said, uh, Dr. Willie Soon, is that there's no such thing as consensus in science. Uh, Scientists are always questioning things, and that it's the data that matter. Just because 95% of scientists agree on something doesn't mean to say that that something is the right thing. Because if you can get one person that disproves their agreement, their consensus with data, and it all falls out the window, all the all their conclusions and the science, so to speak. So what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, the United Nations. And I know quite a bit about international organizations, the United Nations, and things like that. And why is that? Well, when I finished my university degree in Geneva, um, I part of my degree was international relations, and there's a lot of UN. There's a UN headquarter in Geneva, and there's a lot of international organizations. So I learned a lot about the topic, international relations. It was back in the 87, 88, and there's a lot going on. It was before the Soviet Union collapse. There's a lot to do with refugees from the Afghanistan war with the Soviets, you know, all these topics. And I got my degree. I did really good grades and everything. And one of the main professors in the course, he wanted me to do a master's. And I said, no, I want to go to work now. And I'm glad I did. But anyway, the reason I want to show you this is because when the UN was founded back after World War II, so there you go, March 1947. Well, who gave the UN $8.5 million check to build the UN headquarters in Manhattan? Well, it was J.D. Rockefeller Jr., or the third, the grandson of the J.D. Rockefeller. So what I'm trying to say here, anything to do the UN, you have to take it with a big chunk of salt because the UN is a globalist organization. Um, we've heard of the term that all wars are bankers' wars. So they create these crises, World War I, World War II. They try to create, well, they created the League of Nations after World War I, but there's no political will in the US to join the League of Nations. So they needed another war, an even worse war than World War I, World War II, to finally convince Americans that you needed a United Nations or world government. And I think that's what it's all about. And from the UN come organizations that like the WHO, the IPPC, International ICPP, climate change, COP26, or the COP conferences. It all comes from the UN, and the people in charge of the UN are the bankers. So I want to show you that. This is actually Dr. Willie Soon's website if you want to learn more. And I'm going to come back to the UN and also this climate agenda, environmentalism. So here I'm going to give you the link to Dr. Willie Soon's. There's a few other scientists in that group. That's the website. Overseas Demo God. Thank you for your super chat. He says the Silver Institute is releasing its annual report pretty soon, April sometime. What is your prediction on silver demand and its effect on price? Well, to be honest, that's not something I follow very closely. And people might think, well, you follow silver. How come you don't follow that? Well, because a lot of these institutions like the Silver Institute and the LBMA, you can't really rely too much on them. I heard a few years ago that they include like silver futures in their calculations, which is really not physical. So I don't, maybe I will look into it, but I think the price of silver is ready to pop, not because of the demand that the Silver Institute says there is, but because of what gold is doing, and also from anecdotal evidence of demand that we see going on in China, in places like India, and the fact that there's been very little new projects for pure silver miners over the last 20 years. And due to the fact that as well that the price has been so low that it doesn't even pay sometimes to get silver, silver recycled, scrap silver. So yeah, it's not something that I'm looking at, to be honest. Yeah, the Elka's The Price of Time. That's a very good book. I agree with you. He's very critical of what, because I think he wrote his book when we were still with zero rates and even negative rates, and he's very critical of that. So good. I recommend at the Price of Time. And it was just a few weeks ago that the Japanese went off negative rates, minus, I think they had negative rates for, I don't know, almost 10 years, and it's now at zero, which is still really low. Andrew Brown, do you think gold will continue to climb or pull back on opening? Well, on the opening, it could do anything, but over the next year or two, I think it's going to continue to go up. Um, Yeah, it looks very bullish technically. We've definitely broken out um, of that teacup. I think the key level for gold was around 1920, and we broke through there in 2020. We went up above 2000. We, we, and then we came back and we tested that, went below 1900 three times. And each time we'd gone back above 2000. And why is that 1920 so important? Well, because it was the last short-term bull market, so to speak, from 2002, 2001 to 2011. And until we had definitively broken above 1920, let's say on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, even annual basis, uh, the next bull market wouldn't have arrived. And I think now we have. So especially with us closing above 2,200 last Friday, or was it? No, it was Thursday, the last day of the quarter, 2,234. And even in the last half hour after the close, the regular hour close, the COMEX jumped about 15 bucks from 2020 to 2035. But what will happen in about an hour and a half, I don't know. If I had to bet, I'd say will keep going up because I think in Shanghai, gold traded on Friday because they don't celebrate Easter, and I think it closed above at 23.15, the Shanghai gold price. Metal Sear, thank you for your super chat. What do you think of Swift plan for CBDC? Well, um, yeah, I saw there's a video out there about that. We'll have to see if CBDC succeeds. So, yes, the central banks have been working on this stuff, and like the Bank of England, I made a video about it over a year ago that they have a plan to bring in a Brit coin. So yeah, that Swift would be part of that, but I think it's still really far away. It's all theoretical, and I'm not sure CBDCs are gonna succeed. CBDCs to me are like the mandat territoriaux in the 1790s. They try to replace the assignats with that, and it failed miserably. They didn't even issue it, and it collapsed before it was issued. It was being traded pre-issue. So it's not something that I'm gonna lose sleep or, over and look at because, yeah, if they're gonna do CBDC, yeah, it doesn't matter. They're gonna integrate Swift with it, but hopefully it won't succeed. And it's not surprising they're working on this because Swift is the mechanism for international bank transfers. So it would be like an international, this is a link between the CBDCs. I'm not even sure they would need Swift anymore. They could just have a new CBDC system. Who knows? A link to the BIS. COFL, thank you for your super chat. Happy Easter from Florida, he says. Sarge says, Mario, have a great week, sir. Oh, thank you. You too. Oh, you're welcome, Andrew Brown. Andrew Rama, what elements do you think is causing the gold price to pop up? Well, I think it's the debt, the debt. And the fact that the central banks are starting to cut rates again, and the fact that yeah, the fiscal policy is still really loose, and yeah, that's why, and because people are starting to realize because the debt has never been a problem for the up until 2021 for 40 years. The debt, under Reagan, the national debt was just under a trillion or around a trillion, and it kept going up until recently. And people who warned about the debt, they were always, people said, oh, it's not never going to be a problem. But I think it wasn't a problem because interest rates and yields were going down. And why were they going down? Well, because cyclically, bond cycles last about 40 years. And so like in 1942, bond yields bottomed, and then they went up until 1981, so around 40 years. And so all the QE, all the money printing by central banks worked. And what that meant is that it was issuing more debt, creating more debt, refinancing it at a lower yield, was driving up bond prices, asset prices. So it was like a sailing downwind for the bond market, for stock markets, and now we went around the buoy and we're going against the wind. And I think it's going to be a long time until we tack again and go downwind. And that's why, yeah, that's why I think it's happening as well. And that's why the debt now is becoming a problem because rates uh, at 4 or 5% is a different story. I just saw an article that said that interest payments are going to go from a trillion to 1.6 trillion for the US Treasury by the end of the year or the end of the tax year even, which is October. So that what that's going to do, it's called fiscal dominance, and the Fed is going to have to stop the QT. They're going to have to cut rates, even though we got stock markets at all-time highs. We and yeah, and that's why gold has gone up because it smells trouble. The debt is finally going to matter. And if they try to do QE to buy the debt to drive interest rates lower, well, that will destroy the dollar completely, very quickly. We could be at $20,000 gold like in a year or two, and that would be that's why I think they're gonna hold off the QE, and they're gonna hold off trying to cut rates. But if they don't cut rates, it's the debt's going to snowball even more. It's getting out of control. A trillion of new debt every 100 days. I mean, it's out of control. That's why I think gold is breaking out, and silver is going to follow soon. Vena Adiri, do you see markets forcing central banks to raise rates to defend the global currencies? No, they don't care about the global currencies. All they care about is maintaining liquidity for the banks. So I don't think the markets are going to force that. The markets don't want to do that because most of the market participants need the drug, you know, the easy money. Yeah, Rudy jumped back on the sofa. I've got some more things here to share. Oh yeah, this is the one I wanted to show you guys. And I've spoken about this guy before, uh, years ago, several times. And it's George Hunt. Uh, and he talks about Unsaid Earth Summit 1992. I'm going to put this link here on the chat. And I'm not going to, well, I'll talk a little bit about it. But basically he was like just a normal businessman involved in the environment industry, and he got to meet people like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and it just shows how they're all involved, in this environmental movement. One of the Rothschilds was called Edmund de Rothschild. He was based in Geneva, Switzerland, and he had someone that was working for him called Maurice Strong, who was a Canadian who worked for the UN. So they've been pushing this conservationism, environmentalism since the 70s. And they really and they pushed the UN to do that. And why would the UN listen to the bankers? Well, you saw earlier that the bankers financed the UN. J.D. Rockefeller III gave him $8.5 million in 1947, which was a lot of money to build their headquarters. So the UN is a bankster institution. So if you want to, yeah, listen to that if you can. I highly recommend that. Mark Hall, thank you for your super chat. Oh yeah, and here's another video that I think came out just 10 days ago, but it's doing really well. And it's actually unlisted on YouTube, which is weird. I think that's how they get around the censorship. But it's called, let me share it with you here, and then I'll share the link as well. Or you can just type it onto your computer as well. I highly recommend this. Climate, the movie, The Cold Truth. I watched it this weekend. Yeah, really good. And this is why I'm saying that their plan is to make, is control. And the problem with their plans as well for net zero is that in a free market, companies wouldn't be doing what they're doing now, developing this renewable sector, renewable energy, electric vehicles. They wouldn't be doing that because it's much cheaper just to have normal, um, I forgot the term, internal combustion engines. It's much easier and much cheaper to have that. And it's much cheaper to have natural gas, coal power plants, and we have clean coal. So it's almost like yeah, and that and these these windmills as well. We saw in Germany some winters ago that they all froze. It's just yeah, something that the free market wouldn't do. And the reason I say that it will impoverish us is because the only way they can finance this is through taxation. It's a little bit about what it's a little bit like what happened in 2020 with these pharmaceutical companies. They're all financed by us because in the real world, in a free market, those kinds of experiments and work on those things, yeah, it wouldn't pay. It only pays because they tax us, they scare us. Yeah, this is just another one of these examples of scaring us. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for it and are still falling for it. But hopefully, uh, people are waking up. And seeing that it's Easter, the other thing I would say, I don't think violence is the answer. The truth is more important. And even though we might be a small minority, and we can still talk about it, hopefully here on YouTube, I think that's the best way, just to keep enlightening people, or letting people know who's really behind this. Um, this climate um, fear-mongering situation. Multi-Stacker, the Mandibles book. Yeah, that's a good book. I recommended it the other day. I actually recommended it first back in 2019. Was one of the viewers that told me to look into it. It's a very good book. It's a great story. I couldn't put it down. One hope I have about this plan, to control the world, this Agenda 2030 or whatever you want to call it, is that the powers that be, they've got this plan, they've had this plan for centuries, I think. You have to go back a long time, but it's like there's a saying, I think, that the devil is really clever and does things really well, but the devil always forgets something. And that's why he never succeeds. It's like the Tower of Babel. There's, people who try to control humanity, they always fail because their hubris makes them, um, yeah, ignore things that could happen. And one of those things, in my opinion, is currency collapse. And that's why I think it's really important. And I'm not telling people to do this, but uh, if you understand how currencies work, fiat currencies, and the debt, you wouldn't want to keep that much currency or unsecured lending to these banks because these banks and governments, central banks, well, they're all connected. So the more you leave in these banks, the more you deal with them, i.e., through borrowing from them, the more firepower they have, and that's why I think. And that's why I've been so, it's not just about protecting my savings, having started stacking gold and silver and continue to do it. It's more of like a moral thing. It's like keeping, not financing these people. And my hope is that a lot more people are going to wake up soon. And that will be the end of them because without fiat currency, they can't really have these projects. They can't really finance things that are not economic. They can't taxes. So yeah, that's my hope that it will all implode and the nightmare will be over. But who know that's not guaranteed, and that's why we need to keep exposing them. But that's my hope. Yeah, don't give any deposits. Like I've heard people who call themselves libertarian saying, "Oh, I've got my money in 3-month T-bills," but you're financing them by having your month, "Oh, I'd rather have 5% guaranteed by the government," but then you're financing these people. Um, yeah, you need to make a stand. You need to stand with good or evil, I guess. Viv B says salt was very valuable at certain points in history. Yeah, that's why the word salary comes from salt. Yeah. Tricky Dicky says the Mickey Mouse dollar. Dilwyn Roberts, it will, Mario. Just another crackpot idea. I think so too. I mean, and I highly recommend you listen to that latest link I put there because there are people there that have won Nobel Prizes, scientists that were at major institutions in the US saying that this is all baloney. And the reason we're told that all 90, most scientists agree with this agenda is because the ones that don't agree, they get ostracized and they're not financed. So all the ones that get paid, they have to agree with it, or else they wouldn't get paid. And even young people, not just in science, but in all walks of life now, it's all to do with sustainability, and they all have to play ball if they want to get paid. It's becoming a huge industry, but yes, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money, but the general public is going to finance it, and it's not going to pay off because it's not based on real value. It's based on a lie, basically. And it's just a scam or a hoax. And that's not me saying it. It's one of these old gentlemen, scientists for I think NYU or Harvard or Yale. These are the kind of people that are saying this. And the reason why uh, they're not in the debate is because, yeah, they've been pushed aside. Raymondo says, prepare yourself in your mind and your spirit. I agree. I agree. I have to say that in the last 4 years, I mean, I was born in Brazil, and most people in Brazil are Catholic, Christian, but my parents weren't that religious. But um, yeah, I think I'm not saying what I'm trying to say here. It's not just about the gold and the money anymore. If you can keep your mind free, your mind aware of the truth and be nice to people, I think that's a victory. And yeah, but it's yeah, they're gonna come after people like that. Over here, have you been stacking any food items, daily living products? Yeah, I always try to buy more than I need of a few things. Um, I probably haven't stacked as much food as I should, but to be honest, we're quite near the countryside where I am. Um, so, but maybe I should. Maybe I should. I'll have to look into that. Have a word with the boss, my wife. Yeah, Mr. Boston, it is about controlling humanity. You know, and that is when you realize that yeah, you know, they're not better than God. You know, that's they think they're gods, these people, that they have, yeah, they're in charge of you, but they're not. We all have free will. We should have free will, and no one should be in charge of us as long as we don't hurt anyone and we go on about our business. We should be left alone, and I think that's what counts. Jane DR says the Economist magazine covers are pretty good at predicting the future. Yeah, they always used to do an annual one, like in December for the next year. I remember people always used to look at those a lot, but recently I haven't really seen many people do that. And I think it's because it's become so clear what the agenda is that I don't think they bother it even anymore. Vivby says you need 1 year of food because if riots, you can't get out, unsafe, hunker down for 3 months until, yeah, it's possible. Mr. Boston has a crush on Linda Rothschild. Oh yeah, the Linda Rothschild, she married, I think her maiden name or her previous name was Lynn Forrester. And her husband, her Rothschild husband, Evelyn, I think he died last year or something, or 2 years ago. But they bought the Weather Channel back in 2011, and at the time, I thought that was I didn't think that was weird, but I thought it made sense because I knew back then that they were involved in this environmentalist movement. So, what better company to buy than the Weather Channel? And to make every kind of weather event seem like a crisis, right? Have control of the Weather Channel. So that's another thing there. I think now, uh, yeah, LF, I think it's called LF, the Rothschild. They own 70% of the Weather Channel, and I think companies like BlackRock and Bain Capital, they're involved with these the Weather Channel and yeah, it's not just the Rothschilds. And Bain Capital, of course, is what's his name? Mittens Romney or Mitt Romney. He's the guy from Bain Capital, and he's a senator, I think, still. Hank McGurk, you think French assets and soldiers can better be deployed directly against Russia in the Ukraine? I think France should stay out of it. But I think I noted I was speaking to, I don't think the interview has been published yet, but I was speaking to another channel, and I said that France is annoyed with Russia because Russia is helping all these African countries liberate, if you want to call it, themselves from French colonialism. Like it's called the Sahel. Yeah, a lot of ex-French colonies. You've got all these dictators that were in the pockets of Paris. They're all falling, and the Russians are helping them. And I think that's why um, Macron is like saber rattling against Putin. But I think Macron should look at history and see what happened to Napoleon when he tried to invade Russia and take over Moscow. Didn't end very well for him. Well, yeah, Larry Fink is part of you know, BlackRock, of course. They're involved in the Weather Channel. Oh yeah, and the last video I put the link for, uh, they talk about this, the fact that all these extreme weather events, they've looked at it historically, and yeah, there aren't any more extreme weather events now than there were 100 or 120 years ago. And apparently, one thing I didn't know, and you might know, is that the 1930s in the U was a really hot period for the United States. It was hotter than it is now. And the economy wasn't as big. There wasn't as much, fossil fuel and industry. Yeah, so yeah, highly recommend this. Oh, the other thing they showed in this one, where is it? Oh, this is really interesting, and I did a screenshot. So from the 1880s until 1940, so there's that 1930s. Rural temperature in the US was really hot, or global. Yeah, it was really hot. And then up until the 70s went down. And look at industrial output. From the 1940s, it started going up and the temperature was going down. So the temperature started going up in the 70s, but industrial output had already been going up, and temperatures were going down. So no correlation between industrial output and CO2 and rural temperature. And why do they do rural temperature? Well, because again, since the 1880s, the world's become more urbanized. There's a lot more houses, concrete, and you can't just measure the temperature in the big cities or big towns because it's a lot hotter because of concrete. Reflects more light and it's hotter. So you have to do a rural temperature measurement. Yeah, Lord Humongous, I haven't seen him around. Uh, I haven't seen him. He hasn't been he used to come to every live stream. Mr. B, thank you for being a moderator. He says Tennessee passed bill to stop plane spraying and geoengineering. Yeah, chemtrails, right? Which is supposed to be a conspiracy theory. Rob B says everything is a derivative of gold. I agree. Everything financial, that is. Uh, yeah, the fiat dollar is a derivative of gold, and silver as well. And very few people understand that. And they think gold and silver are just normal commodities, even though they are commodities, but they are monetary commodities. I know silver has quite a bit of industrial use, but it's really also monetary. Words like argent, which is silver in French, but is also money. In Spanish, plata is silver, but it also means money. Sarvan Van, have you looked at what the planes are doing to the sky? Yeah, no, I'm aware. I've known for years about that. And even some pilots, they acknowledge that they do it. Yeah, that's I love CO2 hoodie from Wide Awake clothing. And if you're interested, and I think that's a good way. I went for a walk with Rudy today. I wore that. That's a good way of trying to get people's attention about the not just the climate thing, but other things as well. There's a link below in the description if you're interested um, to Wide Awake clothing. Thank you, Raymondo. Happy Easter to you as well. Yeah, the 1930s Dust Bowl. That's right. Cookie Monster, let me give you the link to where you can get the hoodie. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Um, I've also got a t-shirt that said gives all the numbers about how much carbon dioxide there is on the in the atmosphere, which is 0.04%, 400 parts to a million. Here's the link. We got a couple of minutes till 10 o'clock. Um, Michael Churt, you can't wake someone up who is pretending to be asleep. Lack of courage is bigger problem than ignorance. And I think the problem with this topic as well, climate and other things, is that the media, academia, politicians, uh, big corporations, they're all in bed with the agenda. And for young people, it's really difficult because if they want to start out in life and have a career or go to university, they got to play along. And the video that I talked about, this new climate video, which is really good. These A lot of these guys that are exposing it, they're older and retired, and some of them are younger as well. But they said one of them said, if I was 30 years old and I was starting out in academia in this in the scientific world, I would go along with it as well because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to start my career. So there's that too. It's like really nefarious. MW351640 prepare everybody. That's all we can do. Yeah, that's right. Prepare mentally, spiritually, financially, food, water, and family, community. Um, because violence, we can't compete with these people on fighting. grounds, especially here. Maybe Americans can, but I think not even Americans. I know they have a lot of guns, but the U.S. Military is much stronger, I would say. So yeah, that's all we can do. Andy Brown, I'm confident that silver will follow gold's climb upwards. I'm not sure on the timeline scale though. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I did a video on Saturday. I spoke about this and I compared it to the 1978-79 period because gold took off a month or two before silver back then. So I'm thinking maybe April, May at the latest, maybe June for silver. Who knows? And I could be wrong. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe silver won't take off, but it looks really good. Of course, there's no such thing as anything certain in life. It's just a matter of probability. I think the probabilities are high. Mr. Boston, can't we all just get along? I mean, I can. I can get along with people, but and I do. It's the people that are powerful and wealthy, and not all of them, of course, that think they're better and they want to control us. Those are the people that can't get along. Okay, I think the time's up. I'm gonna wish you all uh, a great rest of the weekend, especially if you're in the US, because you're still a little bit behind. For those of you who might be in Australia or New Zealand or in Asia, have a great start to the week, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.